So most welcome to 1611 of the Heidegger series, and we will continue as we started with the article of Koester, the number of the beast in Revelation 13, light of the Papyri, Graffiti, and Inscriptions. We are currently on page 13. 4.2, an inscription from the synagogue at Dura Europos. There we have that one. Thank you very much, Kalle. An inscription from the synagogue at Dura Europos. Another objection to the use of Hebrew transliteration for the solution to the riddle in Revelation 13:18 concerns the spelling of the title Caesar. The number 666 requires that the title be transliterated as XXX, but in the Talmud it is spelled with an additional yod. That longer spelling has a value of 676 and would not fit the number of the beast in Revelation. Yet the shorter spelling of the title is better attested in ancient sources than has usually been recognized. An example that has been overlooked is an inscription from the synagogue at Dura Europos. The synagogue includes tiles that record the names of those who had contributed to the renovation in the building in both Greek and Aramaic. Which shows that the community was familiar with both languages. The inscription of interest is written in Aramaic, dates from 244 or 245 CE. The transliteration of Caesar is found in the opening section, where the date of the renovation is given. This building was erected in the year 556, which is the second year of Philip Julius Caesar, during the presbyterate of Samuel the priest, son of Jedaiah the Archon. The lines that follow tell of the work that was done and express good wishes toward those who made it possible. This example shows how the shorter spelling was used to transliterate the imperial title in a diaspora synagogue where both Greek and Aramaic were known. It also shows how the transliterated title was used when giving dates. That usage is also apparent in a number of documentary papyri from the Dead Sea Scrolls. All three, papyri from Morabat and Ketef Jericho. Four texts are of special interest for the study of transliteration. Thank you, Kevin. Four texts are of special interest for the study of transliteration of the imperial title. And all of them seem to involve matters of commerce or finance. Interpreters have regularly noted that in Revelation 13:16 to 18, people must receive the mark with the beast's name and number if they want to buy and sell. So it is helpful to consider how the imperial title was spelled in texts that deal with repayment of loan, transactions related to property, and the sale of crops. The first text is a promissory note from Murabat that dates from the reign of Nero. The text is written in Aramaic. And uses the full name and title Nero Caesar, the form which would correspond to the number 666 in Revelation. Although interpreters have sometimes noted that relevance of the spelling for the interpretation of Revelation 13:18. Almost nothing has been said about the nature of the text, which concerns repayment of a loan. And here is a declaration of a loan. transliteration of a loan, and how somebody promised to repay. There's a mentioning of Nero Caesar there. Jewish promissory notes like this have been found at Elephantine and elsewhere among the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they are mentioned in rabbinic texts. The basic form seems to have changed little over time. Typical elements include the date, the debtor's declaration, that he has received the money, and so on. What is important for the consideration here is that giving the date of a financial transaction was a common feature in such texts. In the Roman period, the dates often state the name and title of the emperor. The second text is from Ketef Jericho, and it shows a similar pattern. It is among the last of the Dead Sea Scrolls to be published, and it expands our evidence for the shorter spelling of the imperial title in commercial documents from the late 1st and early 2nd century. The opening line reads, "The day of the month, the 8th of Trajanus Caesar." The text is very fragmentary, but the name Trajanus is certain. In the title Caesar, there is a lacuna after the summit, but it is clear that the word is spelled and that it does not use the additional yod that we find in Talmudic spelling. The date seems to be the 18th year of Trajan's reign. It would be 116 CE. The contents of the document are difficult to discern, but the editors suggest that it had to do with something written, a garden, and perhaps buying, selling. Our third text is a Hebrew deed from Ketef Jericho. The papyrus dates from the latest 1st century AD. The text is poorly preserved, but the lower section of the recto side seems to preserve a date. The title Caesar seems to be discernible with the spelling. The letters earlier on that same line apparently correspond to part of Domitian's name. The editors propose that the expression be read Domitianus Caesar, which would fit in the space available. As a deed, the text presumably dealt with payments and property ownership, although the details of the transaction can no longer be determined. I would go down to as a collection. That would be paragraph 5 here. As a collection, he's mentioning, and you can read for yourself about the Dead Sea text. These Dead Sea texts show that the shorter spelling of the transliterated word Caesar was used in Hebrew and Aramaic commercial documents from the late 1st and early 2nd centuries, period when Revelation was composed. The inscription from the synagogue of Dura Europos, they show that it is plausible to think that readers able to transliterate Caesar into Hebrew characters would have used the shorter spelling rather than the longer spelling found in Talmud. There's an omission of an extra letter. I think it's named Yod. They also show that the common way for the emperor's name and title to be used in formal business transactions was in the dating of documents. These observations suggest that a riddle involving the emperor's name and title would be appropriate in a context where people are buying and selling, as in Revelation 13:16 to 18. At the same time, there's no reason to make a one-to-one correlation of the beast's mark with the practice of using the emperor's name to date commercial documents. The imagery in Revelation is evocative. Some interpreters relate the mark to coins bearing the emperor's name and image, or to the imperial seals used on official texts. Others relate it to a wider social pressure to participate in trade associations, which sometimes publicly affirmed their respect for the emperor. The use of the imperial name and title in Jewish commercial texts is simply one element within a larger social context in which the author of Revelation was calling people to recognize how thoroughly commerce was interlinked with Roman rule. We'll leave the juicy part with the conclusion to next time. Look, see what I found so far in the reading. Well, we looked at different debtors' proofs and how they used the emperor's name as a sort of dating device. One example, in the second year of Nero Caesar. And that once more goes to show how what is officially stamped or sealed or being a part of, what can you call it, the society, the polis, the politas, is deeply connected to time. And that time and action used to be much more connected. It reminds me that the Greek used to have up to 12, 14 times, even the Greek. These times were not aligned, as we used to think today, at coming on a collective now, logocentric now. There are two things here. Both the connectedness between time and what went down in politics, but also the time as this other feature. Typical elements include the date, the debtor's declaration that he received the money, the obligation to repay on time. So time is connected to the Politas civilization. And they show verso and recto of the paper. I think that is rather grand. You can also take the two sides of the coin, which is also empirically stamped, usually with the face of the present emperor. On page 17, a bit further down, we will come into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the mid fifth paragraph, beginning with like the inscription from the synagogue at Dura Europos, they show that it is plausible to think that readers able to transliterate Caesar into Hebrew characters could have used the shorter spelling rather than the longer spelling found in the Talmud. Here, so I think is the missing yod, shorter spelling. That goes to show that we make signs of signs too. The longer one was the extended, become the referential for a new sign. The shorter one, and this is how this works. They tie into each other. Derrida called this way of looking at meaning iteration, a more complex way of approaching meaning than just saying sign and signified. I hope you get my drift here. Here it's looking into each other in a much more complex way. There are also different ways also, many different. We have a matter of time that both show politas, civilization, and time. And when something is due to be paid, so on and so on. When was it loaned, borrowed from the first time? It's a weave of meaning. They're also sealed, usually on the verso. It can also be on the recto. Last sentence, or the penultimate sentence on 17. Some interpreters relate the mark to coins bearing the emperor's name and image, or to the imperial seals used on official texts. They become signed. We mentioned that in connection with Nietzsche. Now the signature is important. That seals the whole concept, but it doesn't make it identical to the sealer. In one aspect, it is still free. In one view, the emperor is not connected to the coin, seal, paper, or the time, but he's constantly being the other side of it. I am both. I think that's rather fitting. At the very end, recognize how thoroughly commerce was intellect Roman rule. There's just a mentioning from Koester's side. And I will go further than that. Commerce was Roman rule. It wasn't commerce and Roman rule. Very, very hard to separate those things. Unseparable. What would Roman rule would be without commerce? Would be rule, not rule and commerce. And I will take that up a bit further down. I have some ideas how to show that. It's partly another subject that is very, very important, and that's how things can only be separable if they are the same. And they are obviously same. The Roman rule was commerce. Wouldn't be a Roman rule without it for a second. The coinage, the transportation trips, extensive coming from Egypt. We had corn, seed, barley, millions of tons. That was all interconnected, and that was Roman road. Versum recto, inseparable. So it's interwoven. I like that word. Everything is entangled. That also makes it separable in a certain aspect. Once more, we have the Möbius strip. Maybe some comments from my dear colleague, Kalle there. If you're still
Yes, yes. I will. I will read the context from Revelation chapter 13. I will read these 3 verses because Koester refers to them. It's referring to the commerce. And he, that is the beast. And he calls, you're able to see it? No, excuse me.
It's very
Okay, good. And he, the beast, causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. That is 666. So Koester rightly points out that the number and the beast is connected with commerce.
On the coin, it's in the debtor seal. You have the name of the emperor, and it's also the year. Absolutely.
So it's very fascinating. It would be we should perhaps later on give a look on Roman coins with Emperor Nero's image. That would be perhaps fascinating and giving. So let me return to the text, leaving the commerce behind for today. So it is important to notice that there are 2 kinds of yachts. So why this discourse about yachts? They have a role here, and it's actually important. So there is 2 kinds of yachts: wrong yacht and the right yacht. So this is the wrong yacht. This is on page. This corresponds to page 15. So the first paragraph. So the number 666 requires that the data be translated as Kof Samech Resh, but in the Talmud it is spelled with an extra yod, with an additional yod. That long spelling has a value of 636 and would not fit the number of the beast revelation. So this is the wrong yod. And I think Koester absolutely does right. It is this we cannot accept this spelling because it would not fit with the number. So Koester has a point absolutely here, because we cannot have a number 676. So it has to be the shorter spelling, and he gives many examples of with the shorter spelling. Okay, so this is we could say this is the wrong jod, the incorrect jod, if you get the point. But we have also a correct jod, an ambiguous jod that we need. So let me go to a previous lecture a few pages earlier. One paragraph, let me see, it was a little bit patience, we will arrive there. Important, but let me see. We're almost there. Let me see. The yod, where did it disappear? Yes, this is. No, I'm lucky I don't find it, but let me write like this. Yod, let me see. Let me see. Yod. So, yes, so. Okay, so this is the first. Let me see. No, it was not this either. Where did I have it? So it was about Nero. This the wrong yod was in the word for Caesar, as you remember. But there is also a yod in the name of Nero. Let me see. So this is. It was not this.
Well, maybe we should.
Otherwise, we can take it tomorrow when we do the conclusion. If I don't find it within 1 minute. Yes. No. Yes. This is the paragraph. So when Eros is written in Hebrew letters, it does equal the requisite 666. Some find added support for the Nero Caesar hypothesis in that in Latin the name is written with Nero rather than Neron as in Greek, so that it lacks the final nun. In Hebrew, translated as anan, nun has the value of 50, and when that is subtracted from 666, it yields 616. No. So this is no. I would say like this. So we had wrong yod, and Koester is rightly is correct in saying that we have to eliminate the one yod, otherwise we would have 676. But here we have another letter which is ambiguous, the nun, which is the difference between 50, the final nun, which has the numerical 50. This is the ambiguous nun, which I would say is necessary. The exciting nun, which is the difference between 616 and 666, because this makes is interwoven this nun with both the wrong and the correct.
I see.
Yes, so this was a little complicated, but this is very important. So we have two letters, the wrong yod that we have to discard, and then we have the ambiguous nun, which is necessary to, so to say, save the both numbers, 616 and 666.
Okay. I see.
Okay, so that was a little bit. So yeah, perhaps we should stop here.
Yeah, we round up there. We leave the conclusion. I think that has the most juicy parts to next time. But let me just say here, there are interesting threads here, and one is definitely how things are interwoven. and I would take a special lecture just with interwovenness and how that is necessary for both separatedness and unity. But indeed, yeah, I will terminate the recording, say thank you to all our listeners.
Mm.